Planning on surprising a loved one with a puppy for the holidays? Here's what you need to know first. Welcome back to Alpha Paw, your destination for everything dog. I'm Bernie Zilio, and I'm on a mission to answer every doggone question you have ever had about your fur babies. And today, we are talking about the 5 things you absolutely need to know before you bring your puppy home, according to a vet. Thankfully, we have one of those with us today, Dr. Ross Bernstein. Dr. Ross is a seasoned veterinary professional and pet care expert. He earned his doctorate degree in veterinary medicine at UC Davis School of Veterinary Medicine, and his work has been featured in several industry-leading publications, including the Journal of Veterinary Surgery. He is our go-to vet for everything we want and need to know about our fur babies. So welcome back to Alpha Pod, Dr. Ross.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. I'm so excited. The holidays are right around the corner. I love looking at my Instagram feed and everybody's getting puppies and dogs. So obviously there's been an influx because of the pandemic, but I feel like that boom is going to get even bigger around the holidays because it usually does. People buy puppies and adopt dogs for their loved ones, for themselves. So the first thing that I think we need to discuss that any new pet parent needs to know before bringing their puppy home is that dogs are investments. Can you kind of break that down for us, Dr. Ross?
Yeah, I think there's a saying that no dog is free. So sometimes even if you adopt a dog from a shelter, they need their food and the time that goes along with that and toys and their bed, but they can also have medical concerns. And so you don't want to forget about their veterinary care because their medical health and well-being is very important too.
Absolutely. And it's not just the food. I mean, you think you're going to be like a strict pet parent and be like, oh, like I'm just going to feed them and this and that. No, before you know it, you're buying like bandanas and toys every other week and like treats that you don't need to be buying. Like you will spoil your dog. It's inevitable. So my recommendation is to just plan to be not frugal when it comes to your animal. But I'm glad you spoke about that. It is extremely important. And I know as a veterinarian, you run into a lot of issues where pet parents either can't pay for certain bills or refuse to pay. Keep in mind, people, dogs cost money, especially if you want to keep them healthy. Now, the other thing that we need to keep in mind before getting our puppies, Dr. Ross, which you can shed light on, is vaccinations, which are super, super, super important, especially for young pups. Can you kind of talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, vaccinations, just like in people, they're very important to preventing the spread and contraction of deadly and also costly diseases. So 2 of the big ones are distemper and parvovirus. And these are highly contagious between dogs, and puppies that are not fully vaccinated should not be out socializing with other dogs or going in places with other dogs until they've been fully vaccinated. So you want to make sure they've had their full round of those. And then depending on your area, there might be some other core vaccines. So if they're going to be in a place where leptospirosis is a high risk, you should get them vaccinated for lepto. If they're going to be in a place where they're going to be going to dog parks, going to be around a bunch of other dogs, if they're in boarding facilities, some places require Bordetella vaccinations, which is sometimes called kennel cough. And then rabies is another big concern. So that's also from a zoonotic standpoint, because we don't want dogs, if then they get rabies, to go and bite a person. So that's a huge one as well.
Okay, good. And I know when I was a very overbearing, overcautious dog mom even before I got Pod. And so I was super confused about what vaccines to get, when to get them, how far apart. So do you recommend this kind of goes into my next topic, is finding a vet. So do you recommend finding a veterinarian and walking through all of this with them before bringing your dog home?
If you're thinking about getting a puppy, you should also think about finding a veterinarian. You want to have a trusted healthcare or veterinary healthcare professional where you can go to for advice, for recommendations, and if a problem occurs, there's someone you can trust. And it's always better to know who you can go to. And so when the actual emergency happens, at least you're one step ahead.
Totally. And I do want to mention, because I was overcautious, I had this horrific fear that my dog was going to get parvo when he was a puppy. And I think I did myself a disservice by being so cautious that I think we missed the socialization window by a little bit, because he's definitely not as easygoing around strangers or like bicycles or things that normal dogs, especially golden retrievers, like wouldn't necessarily be scared of. I think he is. So I do think there's a happy medium, but again, your veterinarian will be able to tell you these are when you should get your shots. This is when your dog should be socialized. This is when you should take your dog to experience different smells and sounds and things like that. So that's just like a personal little anecdote. But the other thing, something else that we need to discuss about making sure you do before you bring your puppy home, which I 100% did, is to puppy proof your home. If you like your carpets, if you like your house, if you like your furniture, you want to make sure that you keep it nice. And so puppy proofing your home is extremely important, not only to keep your place looking decent, but for the safety of your dog too. So Dr. Ross, can you kind of talk us through that a little bit?
Yes, puppy proofing the home is very important. Dogs can be very indiscriminate eaters, and they definitely go through the teething phase as well, where anything lying around the house can and will be eaten. So the furniture, the carpets, pretty much anything. And so any little bit that they can swallow that's not really food can potentially be toxic to them or can result in a gastrointestinal obstruction. So want to make sure that there's not stuff lying around the house that is not going to be okay if they start chewing it. That also goes for stuff like toxic plants around the house.
Yeah. And I will say, just as someone who had a puppy, there is what's called like puppy blues. And I've definitely had them. There's this period of time where you have your dog and I'm sure mothers of actual children go through this too. You're just like, what the hell did I get myself into? Because you're just so frustrated by this dog who's peeing everywhere, pooping everywhere, chewing everything up. But it does pass as long as you are patient and have the right intentions with training your dog. It's very important. But I just wanted to reassure people that it's okay to feel massive regret when bringing a puppy home. But trust me, the amount of love that you get in return is just like invaluable. Dr. Ross, the other thing that I wanted to discuss with you, super, super, super important, is that people need to be aware that they need to set aside time for exercise for their puppies or their adopted dogs. Can you kind of explain why that is so incredibly important?
Yeah, dogs are, I guess, depending on the breed, some dogs do like to sit around, but dogs, they have a lot of energy and they like to get out and have new smells and run and get some energy off. And it also really helps them in terms of their obedience training. If they've gotten some of that energy out, it reduces destructive behavior, it reduces anxiety, helps socialization. Exercise that does a lot of benefits, not just for their behavior, but for their health and long term as well.
And I think it's good for us too, because whether you're taking your dog for a W, which I can't say right now because he's in my presence, or to the PARK, I personally find so much joy in watching this dog run around with other dogs and taking him for W's outside, especially now, just getting some fresh air. It's just good for everybody involved. So the exercise portion is a lifesaver. And you're right. It helps reduce destructive behavior, gets their energy out. It's also just beneficial for their health. And I totally wish that I had seen this video before I brought Pod home, but hopefully we have said something today that helps you guys, our viewers, kind of be prepared for what to expect when you bring your puppy home. But even with all this, you're still going to rip your hair out and you're going to be like, why did I do this? But trust us, getting a puppy or a dog it's just so rewarding in so many ways. But if you guys have any more questions, comments, or concerns for myself or Dr. Ross, drop them down in the comment section below. Again, I'm Bernie Zilio, and this is Alpha Paw. Be sure you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss a single doggone episode. We'll see you next time.